But to go back to your point, you can do digital completely free.
Yeah. I mean, if you're okay with mediocre, stick with the
Oh,
free.
oh,
But if you are passionate about the calling that God has on your life, give everything you've got. That's how I think about it. Like, you can't say, man, here we are. God's called us for this mission and we're going to go all in. And then when it comes to digital, does your financial budget reflect the all in that you're talking about?
Welcome to Church 3.0, presented by Apollos, a podcast where we explore the nuances of modern Christian culture and the challenges of cultivating community while maintaining impact and relevance in the church. Join Tyler Vance, COO of Apollos, as he talks to church leaders from around the world to gain a deeper understanding of the Christian faith in a modern context. Push boundaries, change lives, create a more hopeful future.
Hey, welcome today. Thank you for joining us. I have a super good friend today, Alan George. Alan and I got to work together for a few
many years.
many years. I think on my LinkedIn post it was over a decade, which was true.
Yeah.
And I would love to share my first day Alan stories.
Oh,
but,
gosh.
I won't.
Thank you. I upgraded since then.
I so want to now because of your reaction, though.
Hey, you have to tell them to do something to get that. You'll email them that if they.
No. We'll save it for later. Okay. We'll do this
There you
again.
go. Round two.
Round two.
Yeah.
If you come back for round two, I'll share your embarrassing
That'll be the
story.
gift you guys get.
As it's apparent, Alan's a good friend, and we've done ministry together for a long time. Alan, behind the scenes, as a friend, I know him as a great father, a great husband, and someone that is genuinely pursuing Jesus. What's really fun is that we get to do this pretty often. And so I think I said on my LinkedIn, a coffee with Alan is never something that gets rescheduled on my calendar. And then also, that's not reciprocated. I just want to call that out there.
I'm just bad at scheduling. That's what it is. I double book, unfortunately.
I feel like I'm the only person you're bad at scheduling with.
Not true.
This is therapy. All of a sudden, that's what this just became. Man, Alan is an expert in digital strategy in the local church. You took the infant of an idea of what was Church Online many years ago and grew it into the adult that it is today. And so, man, if I think of pioneers in the space, you are one of them. And it was fun to get to be beside you while that was happening. So I'm excited about our conversation today and what you bring to the table.
Thank you, man. Glad to be here.
And just really inviting people into the space that we normally have a cup of coffee over. But I was just let's just jump straight in and go with it. What are the things that you're seeing in digital strategy currently?
Yeah, I think, it's still a mixed bag. There's still some people that are like, hey, we've got to figure this out. We've got to figure it out for our church. We need to build a plan.
Yeah.
But then you still, especially since we're not at 2020 anymore and we've a few years passed since our buildings all shut down, kind of that fire, that energy, that excitement has all kind of died down as people are trying to get people back into buildings. So to me, it was funny because when everything shut down, it was like, hey, we're not defined by our buildings. We are the church, it's us, it's people, it's all of that. And then the buildings open, it's like, yeah, but we need to come back to our buildings. And it was this just pendulum switch. So I know people felt it, this ministry staff felt it. Yeah. And so it's because we didn't have verbiage. We didn't know how to explain how this was and what to do and do online and so I think we're still further than we were, but we still have a long ways to go.
Man, I like the way you and hopefully you're not convicted by that, but that pendulum swing was right.
It hit all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember even the location that I go to, seeing the campus pastor doing videos that he no longer does.
What's interesting, because you bring up a good point. We had, when I was on staff at Life.Church, and we had this campus pastor meeting when all our buildings were closed, and every single campus pastor said that their community responded and they felt more connected to their church than ever before.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
No, it's not crazy.
It's not.
I mean, we know.
It's because I think pastors were meeting people right where they were.
Yeah.
And I think that was a difference maker.
Yes. I can't argue with that. I know that. I felt that from, my pastor.
Yeah.
So what are the things that, I mean, obviously those are true. You've seen the pendulum. What's a driver of, people having barriers to swinging that pendulum back?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say that?
I'm a simple guy. I like to keep things simple. And I think sometimes, especially senior pastors, leadership teams, they try to overthink when it comes to, man, okay, digital, we've got to figure all this out. I think it's just an invitation to return back to who you are as a church.
Mm,
Because you look at a church's mission statement, it's seldom around a building. It's just around people. We're called to reach the city. We're called to reach the world. We're here to lead people to become fully devoted followers of Christ. You've got all these versions, but it's never
wow.
around a building. And so the invitation is just return back to that and don't let a building limit who you are as a church.
So, I mean, unpack that. Like, what would that mean?
To me,
I mean, that's so simple to say, but
it's, what do you guys say at Apollos? It's not 7 days.
oh yeah, it's not just church Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
it's church every day.
Yes. To me, that's what it is, because the mission statement doesn't say every Sunday we want to lead people to become fully devoted followers of Christ. It says we want to lead people, or we're here to reach our city. We want to see 10,000 people transformed in our city. But it doesn't say every Sunday. It says we want to see that transformation.
Yeah.
So just let your strategy and your plan match who you are. Quit limiting it to building everything around the weekend Super Bowl. And it's, how are we leading them on Monday? How are we doing it on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday?
Yeah.
And I think the fact that the building is not a limitation, that we can meet people right where they're at instead of waiting for them to come to us, I think that could be just a powerful way for the church to be the church.
So I think, man, you just got me thinking. In my lifetime, well, in our lifetime, the expression of the local church is to bring people to it, and Sunday is the thing we're growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think one of the greatest digital trends that's happening is that the Sunday church is actually an overflow of this thing that happens throughout the week, right? And that's, you ping my mind on that. It goes back to like Acts.
Yeah.
Like they met as a result of the community that they had.
Yes.
Digital strategy 2024. Did we just solve it?
I think especially churches that are healthy and growing, you don't have to recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
When you thought about how people pull into your parking lot or walked into your building and who's at the door and what the lobby looks like and how are you positioning the seats, and you spend time thinking about that person's experience as they got there.
Oh my gosh, that's
Just
so
do
good.
the same thing when it comes to digital. How do they feel when they show up at our website? How do they feel when they show up on social media? Are they engaging? Are they talking to us? Are they connecting? I think the healthy churches already have a good plan, or else you wouldn't be growing and thriving.
Sure.
Just let your digital match who you are.
Yeah.
Don't recreate the wheel.
So we're gonna cross the line. I think if you spent $10 million on your digital experience, you'd care just as much as you did if you spent $10 million on your building.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. You cannot what gets me frustrated is when you say, man, we're fully behind digital, and we've got, and it's not about digital. We're passionate about the gospel.
Yeah.
We're passionate about our community.
On Sundays at 10.
Well, like it's gotta be more. We're invited to do more. And so you're not like, we need to stop this binary thinking of it's either this or that.
Yeah.
It's a both and. It's do whatever you can to reach people and meet people where they're.
It's an all-out pursuit.
Yes.
Digital strategy 2024, all-out pursuit of Jesus
And
being known.
And you said it's not even a digital strategy. It's a strategy.
It's just strategy.
It's just strategy.
Yeah. It's not a digital strategy for your church.
It's a people strategy. It's a gospel strategy. That's what it is.
Yeah. What I hope for in this year is that we stop calling it a digital strategy for your church and just call it your church's strategy.
Yeah. So then just,
Yeah.
it's not a hybrid strategy. It's just a strategy. And the reason is because it's not just if you have a global audience or a national audience, it's not just them you're ministering to. It's the people that are sitting in your seats on a
Yeah.
weekend. When they leave Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, are we meeting them where they're at? Because I think of it, I've preached sermons, you've preached sermons. The best of the best will probably remember it that evening. I mean, you've got to be really good.
You're better than me.
You've
So
got to be
that's
really
probably right.
good for like Monday. But the reality is they don't think about, oh, it's Monday morning. Here are the 4 points that I heard, or
Yeah.
here's what I heard. How do I apply it? But if we could meet them there and say, hey, it's
Yeah.
Monday. We talked about this. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to give you daily something to hang on to so that you can order your life around what we're learning as a church. Imagine the impact if you have a 3-week or 4-week or whatever series.
Yeah.
Imagine the impact of not just building a strategy around your weekend, but building a daily strategy.
It's
How do you
like
guys say
making
it?
disciples.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a very, yeah. It's not how do you guys say it? It's not once a week. It's every day.
It's not a Sunday church. It's an everyday church.
It's an everyday church.
Right. And that, I mean, you're right. Like one of the things we are seeing with Apollos is that you can go to community and get community in anything we do. Right. And if you don't think that's true, like the Chick-fil-A app gives you community, right? What we're seeing is there's incredible power in the community of the local church being together, right? And so what is the digital thing that we're seeing is we're able to create that community Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Exactly what you're saying. Instead of just content delivery on Sunday, hope it sticks Monday, Tuesday. Like now we can go, hey, let's give you a tool in your tool belt to help kind of grow in your faith.
And
like discipleship.
It is.
I
mean, we talked about our kids, and I've shared this with you. My kids attend public schools. And when my son was going into middle school, from elementary to middle school, our public school sent us an email saying, hey, we're excited for your child. They're moving into middle school. Remember, their bodies are changing, their brains are developing, and, talked a little bit about that. So if you have questions, if you're trying to figure this out, we're here for you. I'm reading this, I'm going, my public school is sending me this email. Like, why is my church not sending me this email? Why? We have, and we've got databases and we've got all that. We know the names of the kids. We know the ages of the kids. We know their birthdays. We know everything. So it's not a lack of data. It's a lack of activating on what we have, which is, it's common sense. It's like if all you have to do is think beyond the weekend and go, how do I equip parents? For a brief stint, when we were working on the same campus together, I was a kids pastor for about 4, 5, 6 months.
You're the fantastic.
It was incredible. It was super fun. So just sometimes when you put yourself into situations where you have no idea what you're doing, it grows you, it stretches you. So I love that period of time. Shout out to all my kids ministry folk. But as having been a kids pastor, I realized that my focus was on the weekend. How do I make sure all my rooms are filled? How do I make sure I have volunteers? Are my leaders coming up? And once that weekend was done, everything was about the following weekend.
Dude, that's a great point, because I think in my lifetime, everything about church has been to attract to the weekend. And I don't think you're saying this quite, but let me say the other extreme. What if the church on the weekend was an expression of what happens throughout the week?
Yes. Because walking with Jesus is a daily thing. It's not once every 7 days.
So I was in a conversation with a pastor a little bit ago, a week or two ago, and he was complaining about the cost of digital.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I said, man, that's great. If you don't know my background, I have a ministry degree. Well, thank you for 4 years of college for that. And that is great. If you're in the middle of that, keep on trucking. One of the classes I had to go through was how to build a gymnasium or a multi-purpose building as a part of, they were equipping pastors when I went to school 20 years ago to build multi-purpose buildings as a part of church, right? Now, these $6-7 million buildings back then, they weren't saying this is too expensive for us to reach our community 7 days a week. But today, when we look at digital strategy, they are a fraction. We're spending a fraction of what were on gymnasiums and sports leagues and all the stuff that goes along with that. And we're saying it's too expensive. And it's like, what? How do you get over that? I mean, you work with churches every day. How do you get over that?
I remember having a conversation a long time ago with somebody, especially when multi-site was just coming up,
Oh,
like this
yeah.
multi-site concept,
Yeah,
because there was a lot of people that were against multi-site.
sure.
Is it real church?
Yeah.
Can you count the
Well,
numbers?
you had to do video teaching.
Yeah, you have to do video. It's like that. Can God show up? Can God show up in a video teaching environment? And so what this guy was saying was, he said, Alan, what you're doing is basically like you take, you got your broadcast location,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got now another campus or a location where it's a video teaching.
Yeah.
He said, so what about the person sitting in that video teaching? Is that can they experience God? I was like, yeah. What if they're sitting in the last row of that building? I was like, okay, that's still.
Yeah.
What if they stepped out and they continue the video teaching on their phone? Like, is the size of the screen, like, because it's smaller, does that mean it's less? And it's like, so how far do they need to go until where that's not real at church anymore? And it was just an interesting thing because multi-site really allowed the church to go into communities that they never thought they could go into before.
Yeah.
Because the model before that was, let's build the biggest building we can and bring everyone to us. And we know that that's not a scalable model. That's not something that everyone can do. But multi-site, you're finding a way to be in more spaces. That's the same thing with digital. You're just finding a way to be in more spaces.
Yeah. And it's really cheap
Mm-hmm.
compared to building a bunch of
I mean, it's
gymnasiums.
free. There are ways to do it for free.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not a church, but I get to pray with people and I use social media. It's free.
Yeah. What are the other trends? So like I say, you work with a lot of churches. You see, and one of the things I actually love about you, Alan, is you work with a vast array of churches, right? You don't have like a niche that you work within. And so you get to see patterns from everything. In fact, what is the conference you were at this weekend? I just saw you posted.
Oh, that was with InterVarsity.
Okay.
So it was the South Asian chapter of InterVarsity. It was in like an hour and a half at a camp from Houston. It was so much fun. I mean, it's like students, like it was great. It was super fun.
I'm not getting invited to the
South
InterVarsity.
Asian.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Maybe we got to fix that. We got to get you there.
Yeah, so like you get the expression of church in a lot of different contexts. What are the conversations you still are having that are like, I can't believe we're still having this conversation?
This cool thing that this church did, because a lot of our churches, we do QR codes now.
Yeah.
So I'm going real practical, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, we're in the middle of a sermon. We've got resources. And this church has done a similar topic before. It was on anxiety. We've created resources. There's a QR code on the screen. Scan it. I've been in services where churches have done that.
Yeah.
And it's rare for majority of the group to go, oh, let me scan that QR. Like people just look at it.
Yeah.
So something this church tried was they're a multi-site location. They did the QR code, but just for their online audience, who, mind you, has a less number of people compared to the total multi-site audience.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we have this QR code, but if you would prefer, we would text you. We can text you during the week.
Yeah.
I suggested once every day. They were not ready for that, so they did 3 times a week, which is fine. Start somewhere. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll text you something around what we're talking about and a verse, a little encouragement. They had more, and when you compare the resources on that QR, I mean, it was beautifully done, brilliant, amazing resources. Double the people signed up for the text message.
Yeah.
To me, that says, sure, you can have a QR code on a screen somewhere, but if I can engage in a conversation with you, that's what I would want. And so our people, I mean, yes, this is one church, but our people are asking for more because we stand on stage and say, hey, welcome to church today. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Alan and I'm your whatever pastor. And I want you to know, as a church, slight pause, we're here for you. We say that, but we don't live it out. Because we're here for you every time you walk into our building. Question is, can we be there for them on a daily basis? Even though we have these beautiful resources, I think the greatest resource we have are people. And so
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, don't just plaster resources on a page. Get your people to engage and meet other people.
Dude.
That's the conversation.
But that is digital.
Yes.
It's iron sharpens iron in the context in which we live, which is really asynchronous as a word we use, right?
Yep.
The ability for me to not have to compete with soccer practice or baseball or for my kids golf.
Which is so cool that your kids play golf. Just, that's awesome.
It's actually,
Very,
can we
very
stop
smart.
for like 2 seconds?
Yes.
It's the best parenting move ever.
It is.
So if you have kids, I just want to let you know, the parenting expectation for golf is you drop them off at the clubhouse. You're not allowed on the golf course. So I'd like to say I'm really passionate about golf.
Yeah.
That's just parenting to the lowest expectation possible. And my kids happen to love golf.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yep.
It's free public service announcement for you. If you have kids that are able to play golf, it's money.
And your kids are young. They're
Yeah. Well, they've been playing for 3 years now. They're 10 and 13.
Yep.
And so, yeah,
that's awesome.
And it's like crazy because you have to caddy for them if they go to a tournament, and it's a really humbling experience, right? To walk around with my 10-year-old daughter that can whoop me, and anyways, what were we talking? You totally
Sorry,
you said golf. I was like, oh.
We're talking about being there for people, like the whole text messaging thing.
Yeah,
right? Our church, our people want relationship. They want conversation. They don't just want resources. Let's stop with the whole, we've got resources for you. No, let's engage in a conversation.
Yeah. How many churches do you come across that they check the digital strategy box because they put their content online?
100%. Like 100%.
That was a T-ball question. Yep. I hope you don't have a kid in T-ball.
No. It's 100%. Even social media, it's more of like there's a church that I'm working with where in the past year they have 2 videos. Like there's not a whole lot of social media strategy. They had 2 videos that crossed like over 1 million just on accident.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, we're trying to explain like, hey, here's why this is important. And the team gets it.
Yeah.
Leadership is on their way to getting it. And it's hard because, and I don't blame them, they've got decades of everything was around this building and everything. And so they have to change how they think. They have to hire differently. And so it is a process. I realize that, but that's why this conversation gets me excited, because we need to bring more awareness of like, there are more churches stepping into this. Maybe churches that we don't know or we don't know of, but this is a real thing and it's happening.
So can we like dive real deep for a second? And I know I always have permission to do this. I didn't ask Alan this beforehand, but one of the things that you talked about with me as you transitioned was the sense of loss of being kind of a known public figure, right? And how many times do you think that really the barrier for senior pastors is wrestling with that? And so like, if you're talking to a senior pastor that's going, man, digital sounds great, but like the room feels great. And I built my value maybe around the room.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
I remember when I stepped into my role, I think the hardest transition for me personally was to leave the campus that I was serving at and to move into this church online role.
Yeah.
And my thought was, man, if I go to this church online pastor role, I'm going to be stuck in some corner office somewhere. Not corner office as in like, ooh, corner office. I'm talking, I mean closet somewhere.
Janitor closet.
Janitor, just stuck somewhere. And all I do is like look at cameras and that's it.
Yeah.
And that has been so far from the truth. It's not easy. Like I was just at that InterVarsity event. I loved getting to speak to people live in person and they were there. But I also realized that there are people that are hurting that cannot show up at a live event. And even this event, our goal, our heart here is to help churches embrace technology so that they could accomplish more of their mission.
Yeah.
If we were to hold on to, but I love talking to real people in real person, well, then I'm not submitting to the Great Commission that Jesus called us to. I'm putting my desires over his.
Yeah.
And so even he left Because Jesus said, let me go so that the Holy Spirit can take my place. And so are we saying like, no, 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 I'm not willing to go behind a camera because I'm going to miss those persons? Like, we need to get our priorities in order. And if it's hard, I'm not saying it's going to be easy all of a sudden. Embrace the difficult.
Yeah.
Step into it.
You've walked through the journey, and I think that's easier for probably you to navigate as you walk through it. I wonder how many times pastors navigate through that. And one of the things, and so like,
I don't think we've said this before. I don't think it's a tension that can be solved. It's a tension that needs to be
oh
managed.
gosh, yeah, thank you, Mr. Storage.
That's yes, Terry Storage. Shout out to him. That I think this is one of those moments where I don't think even the ones who do it really well on camera or
Yeah,
really well on social media, I think most of them would say, heck yeah, I'd pick a face-to-face conversation over
yeah,
this.
yeah.
But it's one that we need to manage.
Well, and I hope to lead digital to an in person.
Mhm.
I think it's actually the driver of in person.
Every single city I've visited because of just travel and when I was a church online pastor around the world,
Yeah,
99.9% the number one question I get is, "Oh, is Life.Church coming here?"
yeah.
Like they digital didn't drive them far away from in person. It was actually
It's
creating
pulling them.
it's like,
Pulling them.
man, I want more. Like, can we meet in person? That
Yeah.
was the number one question.
This is my like new like 2024 phrase, but
Mhm.
like I think Uber is the most technology focused company that wishes in person would never go away.
Yeah.
Like Uber wishes in person wouldn't go away
Yeah.
more than the church
Yes.
wishes in person
Yeah.
wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they are a technology first. They don't meet you and talk to you about what kind of car you like to rent and then deliver it to you,
Mhm.
right? It's a digital experience first. And so that's just my like
I love that. Yeah.
fun
That's
example.
right.
Like they're a digital first company that is 100% reliant on an in-person experience.
And I mean, that reminds me of Crossroads
Yeah,
Church in
yeah,
Cincinnati. They are a church that I've heard them say multiple times, digital first.
yeah.
And I know that's for some pastors as you hear that, I was like, whoa, that's like too
Yeah,
far out for us.
yeah.
And that's okay. They're being true to who they are.
Sure.
They've learned that over the past couple of years, they've reached more people online than they've ever reached in person. Does that mean that their in-person strategy is not there? No, they've got an incredible in-person strategy. They've gotten, I mean, they shared a few of their dreams of what they're doing to their building. It is, I don't think churches have even begun to dream about what they're actually getting ready to do in reality. They are planning to do incredible in-person, like immersive church experiences,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that their digital strategy is going away. In fact, it's a combination. Like they're
Oh, yeah.
merging the two.
Yeah, I mean, like Crossroads specifically, their digital strategy, I mean, they can point to it drives engagement and they have all the metrics
Yep.
very specifically pointing to that. I think one of the things like to hear that's very unique about you and I is we are not technologists. Like I don't actually wake up every day thinking about technology and loving technology. In fact, I'm pretty far behind when it comes to it. um, we are pastors,
Yeah.
and we just happen to understand the power of the gospel and what technology can accomplish with that. Like I'm way more passionate about the gospel than I ever am about strategy or technology. But in this moment in time, in this season of the universe that God has given us a slice to live in,
Yeah.
technology is it is the pathway, that we can use. So
I think about when, say, fast forward 20, 30, 40 years from now, we're still alive. Those of you who are joining us, you guys are still around. And imagine if that next new generation of pastors and missionaries and evangelists that are coming up, they look back and say, what was it like when technology was on the rise?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
what was it like for you guys to take the gospel to the world like never before? Like the early church never even dreamed of this. Like, and they're asking us these questions. Well, how did it feel? Can you imagine saying, well, I was too nervous about it, so I didn't want to try it. Like, no, there's, yeah, it's just the opportunity before us, it's not just an opportunity, it's a responsibility we have.
Sure, yeah. And one of the things that I do love is the progression of that,
Mhm.
right? Because, I mean, you were very much a pioneer of putting content and building community around it,
Mhm.
right? But there has been a steady stream of content delivery,
Yeah.
right? We have, golly, years,
Mhm.
years. I think Life.Church has like over 70 years
Mhm.
if you streamed it end to end
Oh,
on
wow.
Netflix
Yeah,
of content,
that's crazy.
right? Um, so we've done a really good job with content. But if you never jumped on the content train, you also get the ability to just skip that. You can put content and build community around it,
Mhm.
which is really where I see, when I hear people talking about trends in 2024 and really digital and digital discipleship, it's really community
Mhm.
around content.
It is. Yeah. And even like one of my favorite Instagram people that I follow is Carlos Whitaker.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Lowe's Wit, I think on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
My gosh, like the things he and his Insta Familia or how whatever he calls them, like the things that they do to impact people's lives, it's crazy. He'll stop over when he has a stopover at an airport and he has time. He'll look at, he'll somebody got to lay somebody on his heart and be like, hey, on Instagram, he'll say,
Yeah.
hey, what can we do for them? And they'll raise money to pay off loans and student loans and debt. And it's so in many ways. And when the community's hurting, he's there.
Yeah.
He's pastoring them through it and he's celebrating when they're celebrating. And so to me, he's a pastor. He's pastoring. It's not about for him, at least from my perspective, it's not about growing his
Yeah.
following. It's about just being present and sharing the love of Christ to people around the world.
You know, I can't credit who it was on Instagram because I don't remember, but someone was talking about just in what our representation of the local church is
Mhm.
in our context in North America, we have put an overemphasis on teachers
Mhm.
and forgot that Paul mentioned a whole lot of other spiritual
Mhm.
gifts in the body to move it forward.
Mhm.
And I was like, that was
That's good.
convicting.
That's
That
good.
was convicting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that drives weekend.
Mhm.
And it's not like weekend isn't important. I still go to my church every weekend
Yeah.
with my family. Like we worship together. We bring our life group together. That's an experience we do. And so I don't think that goes away.
I
It increases.
I mean, think about the Bible app, right? I remember, so
Yeah.
when I was a
You
little
gonna tell us
kid,
an old man story?
I was no, so when I was a little kid, so I grew up. I'm originally from India, grew up in the Middle East. My dad was part of Gideon's International,
Yeah.
and they were part of the first group that started putting Bibles in hotels.
Yeah.
And so as a kid, I would follow him around with boxes of these Bibles, and he'd walk into a hotel in the Middle East and say, "Hey, we're from Gideon's. Would it be possible for us to put Bibles in your hotel?" Muslim country. He'd strike up a conversation, and then we would drop these boxes off. Fast forward years later,
Yeah.
we get to be a part of a church where we're not, I don't have to walk around with a box
Yeah.
trying to convince somebody, hey, here's a Bible. But this Bible, because it's on an app, is everywhere
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And if technology was not there, we couldn't do that. And so more people have access to the Bible today than ever before. Like those are all examples of how God is working through his church. It's God. Like if there's anybody that we
Yeah.
should be celebrating, it's God because it's him orchestrating all of these things.
By grace, we get to play a part in that
Yes.
story.
Yeah.
That's so I'm reading through the Old Testament right now, and going through Kings.
Mhm.
I mean, you just like not to get like super,
Mhm.
but like it is very much I appoint you,
Mhm.
I take you out. I appoint you, I take you
Mhm.
out, and just the like cycle of Kings.
Mhm.
I mean, especially if you read through like First and Second Kings, it's like the cycle of Kings in that, and it is very much still God's
Mhm.
and we get to play a piece of it.
Yep.
That's such a good reminder. We have about 20 minutes left.
'Kay.
I want to get super practical. Also, if you guys have questions in the live chat, they will get to us. So go ahead, ask a question if you want. We didn't prep this at all.
No. I asked you, hey, what do you want to talk about?
I didn't want to prep
You
you.
said, yeah, we'll be fine. I was
Yeah,
like,
we'll
"Oh,
be fine.
here we go."
Uh, 20 minutes from scratch. Let's build a digital strategy for church.
Okay.
Okay. Where do you start?
When I work with churches, so I've done this with quite a few churches. Where I like to start, because it makes sense for me, is we've got to start with who the church is.
That's
I
good.
think if we're trying to build a strategy and just do what somebody else is doing, I think it's a mistake. I think we've got to go back, just like we talked about. I don't know if it was missed in the tech issue, but we talked about how churches just need to return to their own mission statements.
Oh, yeah.
Because mission statements, I've never read a mission statement at a church where it says we are this church that is going to do something in a building. It's all about this is who it's called us to be.
Yeah.
And so go back to that mission statement. And once you look at that mission statement, what I ask churches to do is take that mission statement and look at how you're doing ministry. Are we hitting the mark? Like, are we checking all the boxes when it comes to how we're doing all of it? When it comes to digital, like churches, a lot of the really healthy growing churches, they've got a plan when it comes to their physical buildings.
Yeah.
So many of them that are stuck in the digital space, it's not because they have a lack of strategy. I think they just think that they need something else when it comes to digital. No. Go back to how you thought about your physical strategy. For example, like we're recording this in a church building.
Yeah.
When we pull into the parking lot, what should the parking lot look like? What should greeters at the door look like? What should, once you walk into the lobby, what is that? When you walk into the auditorium, how do we help people find? Like, there are teams, the churches that are doing well, there are teams that are thinking about this. Just ask those same questions when it comes to digital. When someone shows up on your website, when someone shows up on your app, who are they? Are we all seeing the same information, or can we tailor information based on who they are? We talked about how the church is lagging. You and I both have YouTube, I'm guessing, app on our phones.
Yeah.
YouTube is the same company. But if you log on to YouTube and I log on to YouTube, we're going to see two different types of content because it's based on who we are and our interests.
What would I see on your YouTube?
It's going to be Bollywood, and it's going to be something around, I don't know, Patrick Bet-David. There'll be a little bit of that because politics is happening right now. And then my kids have all kinds of random, like, karaoke stuff going on. Anyway.
Thank you.
But Bollywood's going to be there for sure. So YouTube knows that if it doesn't tailor its content for you and for me, we'll leave.
Yeah.
But today, a single person can log onto a church website, and me with 3 kids can log on, and we will see the same information.
Yeah.
Why? Like, it's like basic, like they don't need to know when kids camp is. And I don't need to know when the singles ministry is meeting because I'm married and I have kids.
Yeah.
And so I think as a church, let's just go back to who we are as a church. What's our strategy? Do we have a strong plan when it comes to physical? Great. Let's layer our digital on top of that and figure out, are we hitting the mark? If we're not, let's start working towards it. It's not that complicated.
It's not, but you just peeked up, and I'll hit it again. It's necessary to have a really great physical church strategy when you've spent $10 million on a building.
Yes.
You can't afford for people to not pull in the parking lot and feel welcome.
No. And I mean, it's very rare that someone gets $10 million for a building if they don't have a good strategy. Because people don't give to.
Yeah. And so I'm actually like, and I'm not saying that this is true. We do have a friend that just committed, instead of building another church location, to put that all towards a digital strategy. And I actually think that'll be an incredibly cool experiment, because I wonder if we had the same investment, would we carry the same intentionality?
And that's the thing. It's like, it's not you, even if you're only physical, you still need a digital strategy.
Yeah. But to go back to your point, you can do digital completely free.
Yeah, you can.
The cautionary tale in that is there's no pressure.
Yeah. I mean, if you're okay with mediocre, stick with the free. But if you are passionate about the calling that God has on your life, give everything you've got.
One more time. One more time.
Like, that's how I think about it. Like, you can't say, man, here we are. God's called us for this mission, and we're going to go all in. And then when it comes to digital, does your financial budget reflect the all in that you're talking about? Because you can say we're all in on this digital strategy and then hire, your youth pastor who's got 10 other things that they're doing and say, oh, by the way, can you handle social media too? Like, that's not a strategy.
Uh,
That's you just like, oh yeah, namesake, we're doing something.
yeah.
You remember this conversation, the ex-CEO from Home Depot,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
he was hiring the guy to think about digital for Home Depot, the person that he looked for was the person that would replace him as CEO.
Mhm.
That was the level of leadership that he was looking for, because prior to that, he didn't do that and it was a mess.
Yeah.
So his second time around, he's like, I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm going to hire the best of the, because it was a message that he sent to the whole organization that, whoa, if they hired him, they're serious about this.
Yeah.
And so when you're thinking of your digital strategy, Pastor, are you just kind of duct taping this thing together, or are you appointing the best of the best
Yeah.
on your team to lead this initiative?
Well, and one of the things that I run into a lot, and I think, Justin, we have a question from you. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. So thank you for that. Uh, Digital is so far down on the food chain
Mhm.
of decision making that their voice is always, uh, they're always on the receiving end of
Mhm.
strategy. They're never on the leading end
Mhm.
of strategy, right? And so one of the things I always encourage churches to do just right away is raise the voice.
Mhm.
And then put them in every decision maker meeting, right? Your digital strategist, if that's a role in
Yeah.
your organization, needs to be in your kids ministry meetings when they're talking about what content looks like for the next 6 months.
I mean, this happened this Christmas, right? This
Yeah.
past Christmas.
Yeah.
Church I'm working with, typically what they've done with Christmas service is live streaming.
Yeah.
That's it. And so they're live streaming what's happening in a building. So the audience, the conversation, everything is tailored
Oh,
to
yeah.
the person
Yeah.
in the building. So I said, hey, this time around, there were like 6 services or something. Why don't we get this recorded, not recorded by the production team, but separate team
Yeah.
to record this for online, and let's add in elements that would be, for our
Speak just
speak
to
to our
online.
people.
Yeah.
So instead of the 6 live stream of a in person, they did 1 just produced, and it wasn't like high end. Like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
some young people with cameras, and we're like, hey, let's do this thing, right? And they're talented. Like, I got to give them
Yeah,
credit. They're
yeah.
talented. They did a great job. As soon as it went live, within that week, it shot up to their #1 video, and they've got some heavy hitters on their YouTube channel. #1 video.
Why? Why?
I think if I'm inviting people to join me for an experience and I say, hey, you matter to me, well, then
Yeah.
I've got to make sure that the service is tailored in a way that reflects the fact that they matter to me. It's not that complicated. Like, it really is simple. Like, if you care for people, then care for the people that are joining online, because they're looking up to us. They're looking up to you as a church and saying, hey,
Yeah.
I feel like God's calling me here, or even if it's, I love listening to the pastor and it speaks about, like, respect that desire and meet them where they're at. That's
We-
all I'm saying.
You talked just a minute ago about, like, and I often think, like, my kids' generation, like, church will look different for
Mhm.
them, right? If we don't lean in digitally, I actually think my kid's response will be the church didn't care about me.
Mhm.
Like, I that's what my fear is.
So we grew up in a small Indian community church.
Yeah.
And we didn't have lights. We didn't have the fancy sound. We had nothing. Like, I remember playing the guitar and the mixer was right next to me because I was doing sound while I was leading worship playing guitar. That's how bad it was. But we were dreaming about, man, it would be amazing if we had a beautiful building and these lights and these things. My kids who are in youth services today, and our church is amazing. Like, it looks like phenomenal. My kids want community. They don't want the lights.
Yeah.
So when I say, hey, what is your favorite part? Small group. We would have never said small group because all we had was small group. We wanted the lights. But my kids are like, oh no, my favorite part is small group. Like,
Yeah.
we get to talk and we get to pray for each other. And then they continue the conversation because they have a YouVersion thread thing that they're doing together. And so they're praying for each other. They're sharing scripture. Like, that is normal for them.
We can't, for our kids' generation, we can't produce content better than Twitch.
No.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Justin, sorry, I'm getting to question. Do you view online at your church as its own unique congregation, or do you think about them as a community or extension of in person?
Can you read that one more time?
Do you view online at your church as its own unique congregation, or do you view them or do you think about them as a community or an extension of in person? That's a really
Yeah,
that's a good
it's
question, Justin.
I think it really depends again on the vision of the pastor and the leadership team, because there are some churches that feel called to go global and they
Yeah,
feel called to go national. And so they want, and it might be different strategies behind that, like
sure. Yeah,
planting new churches or whatever.
sure.
And so I really think it's hard to answer that question without knowing, well, what's the vision of your church? Whatever the vision of your church is, you need to allow digital to match that, because if you build a contradicting vision, you're going to struggle because it's now two different roads that are going in two different directions. And so
Yeah,
if your desire is to go, hey, this is its unique community and we want to pour into that, then your plans and your strategies would all align with that.
yeah,
If it's not, I don't think it's a bad thing, because some people think, man, if it's not, is that bad? No, I think you just need to be honest with your audience, because when you do this well,
yeah,
they'll respond to you. And if
yeah,
they say, hey, I'm struggling, can you, like, is there a small group? You can say, hey, as a church, unfortunately, we don't have that, but let me connect you with 3 churches that we know of
yeah.
that would be a great fit for you. So it's not, you have to do it all. It's be clear on who you are so that you can communicate it to your audience.
Stay in your lane.
That's how I think about
That's
it.
good. Online pastor being active digitally to connect with people. Do they build their own personal brand?
So when I was a church online pastor, my boss was Terry Storch.
Yeah,
We had
yeah,
the same boss.
yeah,
And I remember he walked in one day to my office and he's like, hey, you're not on social media. I was like, no, I am. I mean, I wasn't posting anything because
yeah,
my mind was, I was busy. In some ways, I was thinking about online church.
yeah.
Even though we were doing it daily, I was still bringing a weekend mentality to it.
Sure.
And so I was like, I'm not doing it. He's like, dude, you're an online pastor. Like, get your act together. Like, you
Yeah.
need to be present online.
I actually remember some of those staff meetings where he
So
was on you.
I got to give him credit. He pushed me
Yeah.
to think that way. And so for me, and again, this is part of, I think, the blessing of not being a digital native. I wasn't thinking about it as a brand. I think there's a lot of conversation now of, are you a brand? I think what I was trying to do was, there was a lot of things to do on my plate. I couldn't come up with this uniquely crafted strategy. And so what I thought was, I'm just going to make sure that I document whatever's happening in my life. And so when you read the Bible in the morning, if a verse stood out to me, I just took an extra few minutes to go write it online.
You shared out of overflow.
I just shared out of, because if I were to create something, I don't have a social media team that did all my stuff. So I needed to figure out, how can I document what's happening? So I didn't honestly think about it as a brand. I just wanted to be present as a bonus. I think more people started following and connecting,
Yeah.
but my email inbox as a result got so full with prayer requests that we had to build a volunteer team to support it.
Yeah.
And it was all started from scratch. So
Yeah.
I think I get it. Like, there's probably marketing guys that are, you want to think of it as a brand. I lean towards, don't overcomplicate it. Just whoever you are, be that person online.
Yeah.
And just start.
Yeah. Well, and I think, Justin, to your question, there's many great minds that have spoken about this, but I'll recenter it to this. The difference between an online brand or a brand and a pastor is the heart that it starts with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say, Alan, you have a pretty large online brand.
Well, so here's another thing maybe here's why I'm hesitant on the brand language, because people try to become and think like organizations think when it comes to social media.
Yeah.
And organizations are trying to think like I don't want to be an organization. I want to be seen as
Yeah.
And so there's this weird thing of, like, organizations are trying to be like real people, and real people are they think scalability and growth is if I'm super professional and I'm like an organization.
Yeah.
Be like, authenticity is what wins.
Well,
Just be that is your brand, yes, technically, but don't think of it as I'm building my brand. Think of it as I am inviting people to join me as I do life.
Yeah, and so I think that's the difference. Your brand came as an overflow of what God was doing in your
Mhm.
heart. I know Alan, and so I can say this. I don't think you ever woke up one day and were like, "How many followers do I have?"
No. Well, what's interesting is when I transitioned from my role, I hated social media. I was like, I'm done with this thing. I don't want to have
Release.
I don't want to deal with it anymore. And I almost like honestly took like a 3-year sabbatical, but I was walking into Kohl's like last year somewhere, and this random guy walks up to me and says, "Hey, Pastor Allen." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, how are you doing?" He's like, "Man, I miss your devotionals." Like he didn't say, "I
Mm.
missed all the fancy stuff you posted about,"
Mm.
or whatever. He's like, "I missed your devotionals because honestly, because I would do it daily."
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
said, "I would just wake up and that's what would feed me for the day."
Yeah.
And so those kinds of things made me feel like, okay, I need to start getting, but it's hard, man. I'm like, look at my Instagram today. Like I'm struggling
It's
to
pretty
post.
dry.
It's pretty dry,
Uh,
but it's, so I understand, like, I know I've done it before. I can do it again, but that doesn't mean it's easy. You've
yeah.
got to figure out
It
a
is
system.
a job.
It is. Yeah.
Question number 3 from Justin. What are your views on
Justin, thank you, man. For all the
platforms like Twitter, Rumble, uh, as places to host online services?
who it to me it goes back to who are you trying to reach.
Mm.
If just because church so and so does something on a platform, don't do it. Who are you trying to reach and where are they? Go where they're at.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Most, like, what's interesting is a lot of churches are doing what the big churches are doing, but your mission might not be what the
Oh,
mission of the big
amen to that.
churches.
Yeah,
And I've
yeah.
had enough conversations with the big churches to tell you they want to change, but they're too big to change.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to change because it's like turning this cruise ship. But the other churches are saying, oh, if they're doing it, they're probably doing it. No,
Yeah.
you're not in on the conversations that are happening behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And so trust your gut. If you feel like you need to pivot, pivot. Don't look at the big guys. Just you do what God's calling you to do.
The blessing of being able to pivot.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
Cruise ship, speedboat.
Yep.
Take speedboat.
Take the speedboat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't complain you're on the speedboat. That's good. Blair, as you talk about the investment we should make in tools, what, in your opinion, offers the best bang for your buck and most value for connecting? I'm going to be biased in that, Blair, but I will actually say the best bang for your buck is what accomplishes your mission the best.
Yeah.
Like the biggest waste of money you could have is accomplishing someone else's vision.
100%. I would answer from a different perspective. And Blair, this might not be the answer you were looking for,
I went straight for it.
but so the thing that I learned, especially in these past 3 years, I think the best investment you can make is in yourself.
Ooh,
Um,
that's good.
in the busyness of doing ministry, somewhere down the line, I forgot that being was more important than doing. And I think my marriage, obviously there are people that have spoken into my life and all of that.
Yeah.
My marriage, the fact that our kids, our family, it really is a result of, not because I've got to be a part of incredible movements, it's because of the work that God has done in my heart.
Oh,
And if you can invest in that and just
Yeah.
dive, like, and Tyler knows this, so this is not new, but when I transitioned from my role at Life.Church, I didn't know where I was going to go.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
purely a step of faith because I felt like God was saying, hey, step out. For 3 years, I said, God, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? Like, give me something to sink my teeth into, because
Yeah.
Enneagram 8, ESTJ, like, I want black and white, baby. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do. And 3 years, God would say, sink your teeth into me. And I was like, God, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
I got that.
I
I'm
got
doing
that. Give me something to do. And he's like, I'm giving you something to do. Pursue me.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, time and time again, when he said that, the big wake up moment was, why is that not enough for me?
Mm.
And that was, for me, I'm 44 years old. That was the greatest thing that he could have told me, which was to pursue him. And so I think, as you're thinking about ministry, as you're thinking about what you need to invest in and platforms and all of that is secondary. first most important thing is that God cares more about who you become than what you do.
I can't follow. Yeah,
That was all Dallas Willard, John Ortberg. Like,
I
that's all
know,
those
I know,
guys.
I
But
know, I
yeah.
know, I know. And I mean, as you're talking about that, from a very personal perspective, like Nicole just had this really huge accomplishment in her
Mhm.
life, right? Um, and I just remember like it was a moment where I had to pray her through it from a
Mhm.
distance, and I remember getting a text from her of celebration, and literally just those moments where you just your arms just go
Mhm.
up, right? You just boom, and it's like what prepared me for work the next day? That
Mm.
um, knowing that in the presence of Jesus, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Now, I'm an ISTJ,
Sure.
Enneagram 5, so I'm
Yep.
gonna research,
Yep.
way more than
Yeah.
but I am also I live to get crap done.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here.
Like, that is a constant, I think God is gracious in what he allows
Mhm.
me to sink my teeth into
Mhm.
so that I
Yeah.
I can still experience him
Yep.
in other ways.
Yeah. This is by no means it's like don't do anything,
No,
but
no.
it's just knowing that if you're looking at investment, start here and then let God lead you to
Yeah,
where. And if you're depending on your role, like if
yeah,
you're leading this digital ministry at your church, well then there's probably some things that you
yeah,
need to do. If you're an executive pastor at your church, there's probably different things that you need to do. And so it
yeah.
depends on what your goals are and priorities are.
2 minutes left. Blair, I'll answer your question, in 2 different ways, actually. I remember a time where, um, a church came in to, uh see the mass of what it took to run church online. This is early days, right? And so we were running church online. You were kind of a couple years in,
Mhm.
right? And this church comes and visited us, and they want to see the technology that powers church online platform. You remember this,
Yeah.
right? Well, at the time, what powered church online platform was a used Mac computer from a film guy.
Yeah.
It had been too old for him to use,
Yeah.
and so we had and that's what was powering our church online experience, right?
Yep.
And this church came in and they had just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building studio and all this equipment. And I remember the look on their face when we walked them back to like the literally like closet that had a Mac
Mhm.
plugged in. I was like, that's what's running church online. And it was just this like, right? So make wise investments.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's people.
It's people that when you invest in tools, do not be afraid to invest well.
Yeah.
Um, but invest in the right tools and then don't overinvest in stupid things is really the
Yeah.
best way to say
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
That was a conversation I will never forget.
Mhm.
And I don't know what church, I couldn't tell you what church that was. They probably remember that if they ever
Yeah.
heard it. And like,
Yeah.
they won't ever say anything about it. But it was just one of those like, you use the things that God has put in front of you.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
And then like in all areas of our life, we invest really well in the things that bring exponential value
Mhm.
quickly. We are at time, and so I do want to make sure that we honor that. But Alan, thanks for having a conversation with me that others could listen
Yeah,
to.
thanks.
I mean,
I remember walking into your office and whiteboard and
oh my
us just
gosh.
dreaming.
Yeah.
So this is so cool that we get to continue it.
Yeah. It's consistently been my favorite times. So anyways, thank you guys for joining and have a great day.